and it was very kind of you to mention all those things. You think I would be a lot smarter and a lot richer, but I'm not so sure about, maybe there have been a few spectacular exits, but I've been privileged through my life to be able to be involved in a lot of different things and work with a lot of really good colleagues in that period of time. My job right now is to tell you a little bit about the Alberta Prion Research Institute. Woo! Wonder what's doing that. I'll turn this off just in case it is, but I don't think it is.
Probably just the one that's down. There you go.
Yeah. And then tell you a little bit about Alberta Innovates Biosolutions. This is the funding session, and I'll tell you a little bit about funding, but the way I'm going to tell you a little bit about funding about the Alberta Prion Research Institute is to tell you about where we've been, because we haven't fully decided where we're going, i.e. we haven't fully decided what the specifics of our funding programs are, but we will be putting them up within the next 6 weeks, and I'll give you an idea what that means. But I thought I would use the bully pulpit to tell you about where we've been, because we're quite proud of where we've been. So I think this is supposed to work right. The Institute basically reflects a $50 million investment on the part of the government of Alberta, because basically the cattle and beef industry in Alberta just about crashed to almost nothing in 2003 when the first case of bovine spongiform encephalopathy was found. And that particular disease, among a number of other related diseases, is caused by an unusual infectious agent called a prion, hence the Alberta Prion Research Institute. But from the very get-go, the Institute was given an additional mandate because some smart people, smarter than I am, I suspect, as it was created, realized that this unusual infectious agent was basically a misaligned and misfolded single protein with some stuff around it. And it was also known at that time that some of the pathological characteristics in brains were caused in other diseases by what appeared to be misfolded proteins. Those diseases being things like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, Huntington's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, say that in a hurry, or Lou Gehrig's disease for those of you who want to know, and things like frontotemporal dementias. There are large numbers of these diseases out there. There are very, very few prion diseases, extremely few prion diseases. There's about a dozen different kinds, or maybe more than a dozen different kinds of prion diseases, but they're really quite rare. But they have devastating effects when they hit humans, even though they're very rare, about 1 in a million. And they have devastating economic effects when they hit particularly the cattle industry, but also in others. So this is an area that was quite of high interest then. And because of things that we have learned in the last 5 years or so, it looks like the human neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and some of these other diseases and frontotemporal dementia and repetitive concussive industry that high-intensity hockey and football players get may actually be quite prion-like in part of how their pathology develops, which has now opened up a whole new field and opportunity for Alberta. And so this is what we're about. The Institute was charged to build a capacity in Alberta to deal with these issues. In 2003 and in 2005, when the Institute started, there were no scientists in Alberta who were professionals who understood anything about prions. Zero, zilch. And there were 3 researchers and 2 government scientists in the rest of the country. I know because I got sent to find them by Anne McClellan when it hit the fan in 2003 when I was the chief scientist. Now there are many, many more. Thanks to our institute and a partner that we've been working with, a government and a federal partner called PrionNet Canada, we have built a real capacity in the country to deal with these diseases and to deal with the prion-like characteristics of other neurological diseases. So just to give you an idea of what we've been doing, we managed to go from no research or researchers in Alberta to 38 at most recent count who actually work in this area or do part of their work in this area. And that's a pretty big, fast change in the area in scientific terms. And we actually got about 250 young people involved in this research, and everybody's quite proud of the fact that we managed to do that. We also supported the building of infrastructure. On the U of A campus now, there is by far the best facility in Canada, and possibly one of the best, not possibly, one of the best in the world, although arguably it may not be the best, facility for dealing with these unusual diseases that basically levered a small amount of money from us, a couple of $1 million, and they took it and ran with it and made a $23 million facility in a building that U of A dedicated to this work. And U of C has some activity going on there too, but it's not nearly as much. We funded projects that dealt with from the bottom up. BSC is the famous cow disease. CWD is a disease caused by the same agent in deer and elk and moose. And that disease, while BSC is well under control in Alberta and in Canada, CWD is not. It's growing. It continues to increase. It moves from deer to deer and elk to elk, but particularly deer to deer, and it increases in the environment, and it probably moves through the environment by contamination in soil, which luckily does not happen for BSE. These quirks of these diseases, these are really unusual diseases. Remember, they were only first described 30 years ago. Okay, there are a number of human diseases, both chronic, that are related to prion diseases and to protein misfolding that we find. And then we look at some of the socioeconomic impacts, particularly of the animal diseases. And then we look at some stuff called SRM. And those of you, or some of you in the agriculture business will know SRM means specified risk material. This is the stuff that you take out of all cattle that are butchered and put in through the processing for meat in Canada or going elsewhere that might possibly contain, not that they do, but might possibly contain a prion. And all that has to come out, and when you do that in Alberta, that amounts to a couple of 100,000 metric tons of goo per year. And disposing of that is no trivial problem. So we've had people working on that, thinking about how do you dispose it, how do you use it for something new, which is actually one of the best things, because this is now something that used to go to things like dog food and cat food and other stuff, and to other things, and now it can't. And so it's gone from a possible small profit center to a cost. And that's a big hit on the industry. It also makes our industry less competitive than the American industry, where they don't take out as much. And all that makes a difference. So we've been studying those things. We've also encouraged interactions with companies. And the two big ones that we've had have been interactions with CamRoots, where we've put together with a lot of other partners, and I know Aubrey was here, I don't know if he's still here, put together a Laura, who's the VP at CamRoots, there he is sitting in the back, put together a very large project looking at molecules that might be able to bind onto these proteins, interfere with them, use them as diagnostics, any number of other things. And we also worked out a project with Sanimax and some people at U of A, where they were looking at what do you do with this goo that I talked about, the SRMs. So what I've done here is to give you an idea of where we've been, but where we've been is similar to where we will go. We will, I'm sorry, I shouldn't wander away from this. We will go into continuing to support really good, high-quality research that comes from people who have good ideas. And we'll vet it. And when it comes and it passes our vetters, who are a tough bunch, I'll tell you, they're all outside Canada, internationally known researchers in this area. We'll fund that. We will fund research in specifically targeted areas, sometimes ourselves and sometimes in partnership with others. For example, we've had 2 rounds of funding in partnership with the Alberta Livestock and Meat Agency because we're interested in the same thing. We will continue to do that. So we will target and we'll partner in these areas. We will continue to run our university industry program, encouraging interactions between industry and university researchers, both on the Prion side, but also now on the developing human side, which really will bring a lot of interest in. And we will continue to look for various ways to deal with this challenge of chronic wasting disease. This is a disease that has been with us for about 60 years, first described in Colorado a while ago. We don't know exactly where it's going, but it hasn't caused any human disease, but we know that these things can jump around and we need to know more about them. So these are the kinds of things that we will be putting up within 4 to 6 weeks, calls for proposals from the industry and from academia to deal with these things, and they'll be up on our website. Just a minute on, since I've just thought I should tell you a couple of things about AIBio. APRI is part of AIBio. AIBio currently has 2 competitions that are on the go. One is in food safety, and it's for research and development projects in food safety. It closes on June 21, so you don't have much time if you're thinking about this. The projects can be, I believe, if I remember correctly, up to $500,000, but please don't hold me to these numbers. Please check the AIBio website, okay? AIBio also runs with AI Tech Futures innovation vouchers that are specifically targeted to forestry and agriculture. And the next call for those closes in July 3. If you're interested in a small definitive project that may help you move along. The food safety ones will be bigger. There will be a call probably in the fall for in the area of sustainable production. What are the things that you need to do vis-a-vis pesticides, vis-a-vis transport, vis-a-vis how to cut the trees, vis-a-vis whatever it might be, to make sure that your production is sustainable. That will come in the fall. And there will probably be a call in the fall too for in the general area of advancing the bioeconomy, and we'll deal with bioproducts primarily. The sustainability area we will definitely be doing in combination with the Ag Funding Consortium. We've done that in the past and we'll do it again. So if you're familiar with them, you'll be familiar with the kinds of things we want. But I want to get you to check the website, both of APRI and AIBio, for the specifics. Our specifics will go up soon. We're in transit from the previous funding regime to the new funding regime, and we're not yet quite ready to put the information up. So I'm going to be a good cheer and say stop, Keough, so we don't run out of time, and see if I'll allow one question to myself, if anybody wants to do it, and then we will move on and ask for others. But please check our website, or I'll be happy to tell you about the information. Or Ron Clarkson, who's our Director of Programs, is sitting in the back row if you'd like to know more about where we are. Okay? Sorry. Website address is just www.prioninstitute.ca. Or you'll find it under the AIBio website also, but it'll get you there directly. Okay. Now, one of the things I'm going to ask you to do for the speakers as you come up, because I was sitting in the back row, I know it's extremely difficult to hear questions. That question was, what's your website? Okay, what's your website address? Please, if you're asked questions, repeat the question, because the people behind the speakers, this room has got not great acoustics, I quickly learned. Just please repeat the website. Or for those of you who are asking questions, use your best Sergeant Major voice and yell it out and say, please tell me what it is that you, okay, so.